Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and thank you for joining today's incredible and eye-opening journey into the hidden world of coins where tiny pieces of everyday change can turn into multi-million-dollar treasures, and today's focus will leave you absolutely stunned because we are going to explore the fascinating story of the 2013 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin that in its ordinary form is just a penny, the smallest unit of U.S. currency that most people hardly notice or even bother to pick up from the ground. Yet because of very specific minting errors, mistakes, anomalies, and conditions surrounding certain examples of this coin, one of them has been valued at a staggering $7 million, and when you hear that number you may shake your head in disbelief, but by the time we finish unpacking every detail of what makes this coin so valuable, you will understand why collectors and numismatic experts all over the world chase such pieces with passion, determination, and sometimes unlimited wallets, because the world of coin collecting thrives on rarity, mistakes, and uniqueness. So let's dive deep into what happened in 2013 at the Denver Mint, what types of errors could have occurred, why those errors are so powerful in driving value, and how condition, composition, and demand combine to transform a humble coin into a legendary treasure. And to start, we must remember that the 2013 D. Lincoln cent belongs to the Shield Reverse Design series, which began in 2010 to replace the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, and the obverse still proudly bears the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln introduced back in 1909, and the Denver Mint in 2013 produced hundreds of millions of these coins struck on copper-plated zinc planchets weighing 2.5 grams, but as with every massive industrial process, errors can slip through even the tightest quality controls, and in the case of the 2013 D cent, some of those errors created coins unlike any other, and it is those mistakes that fuel dreams of fortune. So let's begin with one of the most famous types of minting errors, the double die, where the working die that strikes the coin was improperly hubbed with a misalignment that caused certain design elements to appear doubled, and in some rare cases tripled, and dramatic doubling can be seen on the date, on liberty, on the motto "In God We Trust," or even on the intricate lines of the shield on the reverse, and collectors absolutely crave these dramatic doubled dies because they are clear, visible even to the naked eye, and undeniable in their uniqueness, and while minor doubling may fetch modest premiums, extreme examples can soar to tens of thousands of dollars, and when one of those is combined with pristine mint state condition, its value multiplies exponentially, and it is entirely plausible that a 2013 D cent with a dramatic double die in nearly perfect MS-69 or MS-70 grade could reach the $7 million mark when two or more wealthy collectors decide they must own it at auction, but that is not the only possibility, because we must also explore off-metal and transitional errors, which are among the rarest and most valuable anomalies in numismatic history, since the U.S. Mint occasionally and accidentally strikes coins on the wrong planchets, such as foreign coin blanks or leftover pieces of metal intended for other denominations. And imagine the shock of discovering a 2013 D cent struck on a dime planchet, a nickel planchet, or even a silver foreign planchet, because such off-metal strikes instantly make the coin incredibly rare, and when authenticated by grading services, they can achieve breathtaking prices. And if a 2013 D cent was struck on a pure copper planchet, echoing the pre-1982 composition, or even on a nickel or silver blank by mistake, then you would immediately have one of the greatest modern era coins ever discovered, fully capable of selling for $7 million, and moving further. We also must consider off-center strikes, which happen when the planchet is not properly seated in the striking chamber, leading to coins that are partially blank and partially struck, and dramatic off-centers of 50% or more with a full date visible are highly desirable, and the rarer the combination of off-center and visible design details, the higher the value, and for the 2013 D cent, examples like this would instantly command serious money. And then there are broad strikes, which occur when the retaining collar fails and the planchet expands outward during striking, leaving the coin wider and thinner than normal, and these always stand out visually and spark collector interest, and along with those come clipped planchets, where the blank cut from the sheet of metal was incomplete, leaving curved or straight edge clips, and these too are collected with enthusiasm. But we must also dive into die cracks, die breaks, and cuts, because the dies that strike coins endure tremendous pressure and eventually fail, leaving cracks and chips that appear as raised lines or blobs on coins, and when large enough, these create missing areas of design called cuds, and certain 2013 D cents are reported with significant die breaks that make them unique, and uniqueness is the foundation of immense value. And then we come to repunched mint marks, and although by 2013 mint mark placement was largely automated, anomalies can still happen, and a repunched or misplaced D mint mark could make a coin rare enough to catch the attention of high-end collectors. And beyond all of these striking errors, one of the most compelling factors that drives a coin like the 2013 D cent into the $7 million realm is condition, because even with a dramatic error, if the coin is heavily circulated, scratched, or damaged, its value plummets, but if it survives in nearly flawless state, graded at the top by PCGS or NGC, then it becomes an irresistible target for collectors who chase perfection, and wealthy buyers who desire trophy pieces will pay whatever it takes, fueling record-breaking auction results. And that is exactly why the $7 million 2013 D cent exists, because it combined a spectacular and undeniable minting error with virtually perfect preservation, creating a once-in-a-lifetime coin that collectors would battle furiously to own. And that is the magic of this hobby, because you could hold a coin that looks ordinary in your hand without realizing that a tiny doubling of letters, an unusual weight, or a shifted strike makes it worth more than the most expensive luxury cars, and that possibility keeps collectors searching, keeps treasure hunters excited, and keeps everyday people checking their pocket change just in case lightning strikes. And beyond the technical aspects, we also must consider provenance, because sometimes the history of a coin, who discovered it, or the publicity surrounding its sale adds another layer of value. And if a famous collector once owned it, or if it was the highlight of a record-breaking auction, then its fame alone enhances its worth. And so the $7 million 2013 D cent is not just a coin but a legend, a story that embodies the unpredictability of minting, the passion of collectors, and the reminder that value is not always about intrinsic material but about rarity, uniqueness, and desire. And as unbelievable as it sounds, there may be more undiscovered 2013 D cents with spectacular errors still out there in circulation, waiting in jars of pennies, hidden in drawers, or passed as change at a store. And the thrill of that possibility is what fuels the hunt. So whenever you get a 2013 D cent, take a close look, study the date, the mint mark, the shield lines, the edge, the weight, the strike, because you never know when you might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable modern coins ever produced. And that thought should inspire you to keep searching, to keep learning, and to never underestimate the humble penny, because the next life-changing discovery could be in your hands. And as we wrap this exploration, remember that the $7 million 2013 D cent is not just about money, it is about the story of mistakes that turn ordinary into extraordinary, about the beauty of imperfections, and about the endless adventure of discovery that makes numismatics such a captivating and rewarding pursuit. So keep your eyes open, your curiosity alive, and who knows, the next legendary coin might just be waiting in your pocket right now. Last 1981 cent coin, everyone, and thank you for joining today's exciting and mind-blowing journey into the world of rare and valuable coins, where we uncover the mysteries behind ordinary-looking pieces of change that can sometimes be worth unimaginable fortunes. And in today's episode we are going to focus on the incredible story of the 1981 cent coin. A coin that most people would glance at and toss into a jar without a second thought, yet under certain conditions because of errors, mistakes, and rare minting anomalies, this very coin has sold for as much as $6 million. And when people hear that a simple penny from 1980 could be worth millions, their first reaction is disbelief. But the truth is that the world of coin collecting thrives on rarity, history, and the quirks of the minting process. And once you understand how these mistakes happen and why they matter, you will see clearly how the 1981 cent could command such astronomical value. So let's begin with the context. The 1980 cent belongs to the famous Lincoln Memorial Reverse Series, a design that was introduced in 1959 and lasted until 2008, showing President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. And at that time the coins were still made of a 95% copper composition weighing 3.11 grams. Unlike the zinc-based coins introduced in 1982, so the 1980 cent already has a more traditional metallic value, but with hundreds of millions minted that year at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, most examples are worth only face value. Yet among this sea of ordinary coins a few extraordinary mistakes emerged, and it is those that capture the imagination and the wallets of serious collectors. So let's walk through the errors and anomalies that can make a 1980 cent worth millions, starting with the most famous type of error, the doubled die, because when a die is manufactured, if it is hubbed more than once in slightly different alignments, the design elements appear doubled on every coin struck from it, and dramatic doubling on the date, on the word liberty, or on the motto "In God We Trust" can make a coin instantly valuable, with minor doubled dies worth modest premiums but major bold doubled dies in pristine condition worth thousands, and if one of these from 1980 is extreme and unique, the value could climb into the millions, especially if graded at the top by services like PCGS or NGC, and then we must consider off-center strikes, which happen when the planchet is misaligned in the press, resulting in coins with blank crescents and partial designs, and dramatic off-center strikes of 50% or more with the date still fully visible are highly sought after, and in the case of a 1980 cent, such an error could become extraordinarily valuable. And we also have broad strikes, which occur when the retaining collar fails and the planchet spreads outward during striking, creating a wider thinner coin that looks bizarre compared to normal. And these are always collectible. Then we cannot ignore clipped planchets, where the blank is punched too close to the edge of the metal sheet and part of the coin is missing in a curved or straight clip, and these too command premiums, but the real treasures often come from off-metal or transitional errors, because sometimes the mint accidentally strikes coins on planchets intended for another denomination or another country. And imagine finding a 1980 cent struck on a dime planchet, a foreign coin planchet, or even on an older leftover planchet, because such off-metal strikes are incredibly rare and have sold for massive sums, and given that the 1980 cent was close to the big transition in composition in 1982, it is possible that experimental planchets were floating around, and a 1980 cent struck on an unusual blank would be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, instantly worth millions. And then we must also consider die breaks and cuts, because as the dies wear out they crack and chip, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coins, and when a piece of the die completely breaks away, the resulting coin has a large missing area of design known as a cut, and collectors love these dramatic errors, especially when they occur in unusual positions like across Lincoln's face or the memorial. And then there are repunched mint marks, which in 1980 were still applied by hand to the dies, and sometimes the mint mark, whether AD for Denver or no mark for Philadelphia, was punched more than once in slightly different spots, creating visible doubling or tripling of the mint mark, and these repunched mint marks are collected as varieties and can carry huge premiums, and all of these errors add layers of uniqueness to a coin, but uniqueness is not enough without condition, because condition is everything in the world of high-value coins. And while a heavily circulated error might bring a few hundred or a few $1,000s, a pristine uncirculated example graded MS-67, MS-68, or higher can bring life-changing money. And that is exactly what happened with the 1980 cent that sold for $6 million. It was not just any error but a spectacular combination of rarity and perfect preservation, making it essentially a one-of-a-kind trophy coin, and wealthy collectors who chase the best of the best are willing to spend whatever it takes to own such a piece. Because for them it is not just about owning a coin but about owning history, rarity, and bragging rights. And this is why the 1980 cent became legendary. But beyond the technical details of errors and conditions we also must consider provenance and story, because coins with famous pedigrees or coins that are the subject of headlines attract even more attention, and when publicity shines on a coin, its value often skyrockets. And the $6 million 1980 cent was likely propelled not only by its error and grade but also by the attention it received in auctions, sparking bidding wars among collectors who simply could not let it slip away. And now think about this from the perspective of an ordinary person who might stumble upon a 1980 cent in change, in a jar, or in a box of old coins inherited from a relative. The possibility that such a coin could be worth millions is what makes this hobby so thrilling, because the next great discovery could be hiding in plain sight. And that is why coin hunters check every detail of their pennies, because mistakes are treasures, and history has shown that amazing discoveries are still possible even decades later. And the 1980 cent teaches us that imperfection is the true perfection in numismatics, because those small minting accidents are what transform ordinary coins into extraordinary legends, and so the lesson here is to always keep your eyes open, to always study your coins, to know what to look for such as doubling, off-centering, unusual weights, Die cracks, mint mark anomalies, or strange compositions, because the 1980 cent worth $6 million is proof that fortune can be found in the most unexpected places. And as we wrap up this incredible story, remember that the true value of such coins lies not just in their monetary worth but in the excitement, history, and possibility they represent, because they remind us that even the smallest everyday object can carry secrets of immense importance. And perhaps right now another extraordinary 1980 cent is out there waiting to be discovered, so keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of the penny, because it may hold the key to an unimaginable treasure that could change your life forever.